hear
Hello,
me?
Greg.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, I can hear you.
Excellent.
How you doing? All right,
Good.
great. Awesome. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so I just started recording this session, so yeah, it looks like it is recording properly this time. Fingers crossed it actually does export the way that it should at the end of this training and doesn't just erase like last time. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Before we actually, before I start sharing my screen and actually start going through Kiwi and everything, did anyone get a chance to play around with the system yesterday and maybe have any questions as a result? I'm always happy to answer any of those questions before we dive on in.
I did not get a chance to play around with the system. I just didn't get a chance to play around with the system. So
That's
no.
Okay. No worries. Likely, once you do start playing around with it, probably next week, yeah, I'm sure you'll probably have some questions that pop up. By all means, just feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to help you out.
But I do have it in a tab right now, though.
Nice. Good stuff. Okay.
I
cool.
did, and the only question that I had was like, do
Mhm.
we just kind of accept the invitations that you had sent? But maybe I'll just refer to the YouTube video link.
Yeah, well, you'll see there's in that one email I sent yesterday, there's YouTube link for the recording yesterday, but there's also a separate link for Kiwi to log into Kiwi. Honestly, you could use either one. If you want to use one of those links in the course invitation emails, you can. It's really up to you. As long as you bookmark it, that's probably what's going to be most important for you and most convenient. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and kind of pick up right where we left off for the most part yesterday. That'll probably make the most sense here. And we can get into like enrollment and all that stuff but toward the end. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Okay, cool. So here we are back in one of the courses, right? This is that crafting a marketable resume course that I kind of, like to use as my example oftentimes, just because it has a little bit of everything. So it's kind of usually, kind of acts as a really good example. The thing I wanted to start off with today was grading assignments, right? Now I know we were talking a bit yesterday about whether or not you all would want to keep some of these assignments that require grading in your courses, right? And the thing is, I don't want to put you all under pressure to have to give an answer to that like immediately or anything like that, right? So my logic is it would probably make the most sense for you all to learn how to grade. So if you do want to use those assignments, you'll have the ability to use them, you'll know how to grade them, and of course, you can kind of toggle it on and off if you want to, as far as like, including it in the course. So here's how it works. Pretty simple. You'll see, like I said yesterday, some of the courses, for example, I know the resume course does, crafting a marketable resume, creating an effective cover letter does, right? I know some of the interviewing courses do, like interviewing basics, and I believe the STAR method, they have assignments that would require grading too. To grade an assignment and see the submissions to that assignment, really simple. You just want to start by clicking on the assignment itself. Right. And by the way, if let's just say hypothetically, you're all are like, you know what, we want to require this. We don't want it to be optional. We want our students like to definitely do this every time they do it. You can even edit the title of an assignment. It's really simple. All you have to do is click this edit button. And yep, there you go. Now you have full access to edit that assignment completely, the instructions, even the title. So you could just get rid of optional. And then of course you always have a save button at the very bottom of the screen, bottom right-hand corner. But going back to how to grade, right, you'll see that when you click on the assignment itself, on the right-hand side in the top right-hand corner, there's this link here that says Speed Grader. Okay, the Speed Grader feature is how you go about grading all assignments that were submitted, right? Now, right now, obviously, this course has not launched yet. No students are enrolled or anything. So obviously, it just looks pretty bare bones, right? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up this same assignment from a different course from a few years ago that we offered for the city of Detroit. So this is that same exact one. Now you can see once you have students that have actually submitted that assignment, it'll look just like this in the corner now. It'll still say Speed Grader, but now it gives you the option to download those submissions, and it'll always show you the number of total submissions and the number that have been graded so far by an instructor, right? So obviously for this assignment, for whatever reason, it didn't get graded, it looks like. But to actually go about grading and viewing those submissions, all you have to do is click where it says Speed Grader. Okay, there we go. Yep. And now in the center of your screen, after you click on that, you'll see it's going to show you the actual submission itself. So whether it's a document that the student submitted, if they just typed in the response or something like that, you'll see it here in the middle. If it's like a video, for example, maybe that they recorded, and you'll see that that's what the assignment looks like for like the interviewing courses where they're using the webcam to like practice their 30-second elevator speech or something like that, right? So you'll see whatever their submission is right in the center of the screen here. And the way it works is you'll see on the right-hand side in this little column we have here, right? You have in the very top corner the name of the student, right? That's their submission, of course. And you have these arrows on either side that you can use to cycle through all the students that are enrolled in the course. right? So you can see all of their submissions, right? Every time I click one of those, I'm going to see a new submission in the center. And obviously, if they did not submit this assignment, of course, it'll tell you that too. What's convenient about this is, aside from these arrows, you also have this drop-down menu right here next to their name. If you click on that, it'll show you all of the students in the course right there in that little drop-down. So if you want to, you can kind of skip around to specific students, okay? The way this little drop-down menu works, because it can be very convenient if you do need to do a lot of grading, is anytime you see a name with an orange like circle next to it, an orange dot, that means that that's a new submission that has not been graded yet. Okay, so the orange circle, little orange dot, that means there's a new submission that has not been graded yet. If it looks like it's just gray, right, like it doesn't even look like you could like click on it or anything like that, that means that student has not submitted for this assignment at all yet. So they just have not submitted it yet. Okay, and if I were to grade one of these, right, then you would see a green check mark next to their name. So for anything that has been graded already, you'll see a little green check mark right next to their name. Okay, so again, orange, brand new submission, green check mark, has been graded already. If it's grayed out, that just means that they have not submitted that assignment yet at all. Okay, you can see if they did upload a document as their submission, and I would hope for a resume, right, that they would upload a document, right? You'll see right below here, you have the ability to even download it, right? So you can even download that submission if you want to and keep it on your hard drive if you need to, right? Below that, you also have where it says assessment, the ability to actually grade that assignment. Okay. Now, if we're talking about a resume, it might be kind of weird to give that like a number grade out of 10 or something like that, right? But that's why we have that assignment specifically set up to either be just considered complete or incomplete, and that's it, right? So you'll see you can actually give them like a complete score or an incomplete score, and that's basically it for the resume one at least, right? So below that, you'll see we have this comment box and submit. Right? Obviously, comments pretty self-explanatory. You can add in emojis, even like a voice clip or like a video clip, an attachment, right? Once you click submit after assigning, an assessment and of course including comments, then you have officially graded that submission. That's what constitutes that submission being graded, basically, right? The one little sort of detail that I want to point out here, because it can be very, very useful. If you are doing a lot of grading, there is this little feature here called the comment library, and it's signified by this little sort of dialog bubble. When you click on that, it'll give you this ability to choose from a library of comments that you've already sort of pre-established at some point in the past, right? So if you want to, you can actually add comments to your library down here, right? Like, for example, great job, right? And then all you have to do is click on it, and there you go. Just automatically appear right there in your comments box, right? Typically speaking, whenever we're talking about grading assignments and we're doing like, trainings for instructors, usually a good idea to include comments, right? Just to kind of help increase engagement with students. And that makes it a bit easier so you don't have to constantly copy and paste or constantly type the same thing over and over again. So what happens is if you do include comments, right, that student will see those comments appear on their dashboard in Kiwi next time they go to log in. Right, so when they go to log in, you'll even notice, even for teachers too, it kind of looks similar. So let me try to log in real quick, just as like my fake student account here. Right, just to kind of show you real quick. Here we go. Right, so you'll see on the right-hand side here, we have like this like feedback area, right? Recent feedback. That's where it would appear for students. Right, so when you leave a comment for them, they'll see that comment right there below recent feedback. So, and oftentimes it might, you might want to say something like, hey, here's some tips to change your resume around and maybe resubmit it or something like that. That's where that comment would go. One of the other really cool features here is you also have these annotation tools here at the top. Right, so if you wanted to like mark up this resume, maybe you don't really like the idea of the objective, you'd rather go with the summary of qualifications, which is usually what we recommend, right? You have these annotation tools up here where you can do like strike throughs, you can do highlighting, you can do all types of really cool stuff, and for each one of those annotations you create, you can even include a specific comment attached to it. Right, so you can even leave like a comment for that annotation that you just created. Okay, and then what's really awesome here is, once you leave those comments, once you complete all those annotations, those will also appear as recent feedback on the student's dashboard. So they can click on that recent feedback link, and it'll bring them right to that annotated version of their document. Okay, you could even download the annotated version of that document here too, which is pretty cool. Right, so now you can even like keep that. So it's almost like having like a digital red pen, right, when it comes to like marking up somebody's resume. Right, so it gives you a lot of different cool options there. So that, for the most part, is how SpeedGrader works. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and usually very, very useful. Any questions about the SpeedGrader or about grading assignments in general? Good. All right, cool.
I think it's good. Yeah.
Perfect. So one big caveat, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I always like to make sure to kind of double down on this specific detail because it usually comes up as a lot as a popular question. Students cannot receive their badge automatically until all submissions have been graded for a module, right? Or at least their submission has been graded for a module, right? So if you have students coming to you saying like, hey, I didn't get my badge, why didn't I get my badge? It's very likely that, they did probably complete all the work just like they're supposed to, but maybe that one submission just wasn't graded by the instructor yet. Once it's graded, then automatically they'll receive their badge and they'll be able to check it and download it and share it and all that cool stuff. Okay. Alrighty. So next thing I want to go through, and that's going to be the account creation process. This is going to be obviously important with regards to like how your participants gain access to the system, right? And that whole sort of process and everything. So here's basically the way it sort of goes. We try to make it as simple and easy for you all as possible, right? Whenever you need new accounts created for your students, so you can enroll them in courses or just allow them to enroll themselves via the catalog, all we ask is that you basically just send an email to our Kiwi support email address. Okay, I can definitely throw that in the chat once again, and then of course I'll make sure to follow up with an email as well with that included. So I'm just going to type that in: Kiwi support at EDSIsolutions.com. Okay, so all I ask is that, when you need like user accounts created for your participants, just shoot an email to that email address. And if you could just put their first name, last name, and email address on an Excel spreadsheet in like their own separate columns, then we're good to go. That's really all we need. I can even kind of, show you kind of a peek behind the curtain. What I do on my end is I create their user accounts in bulk using what's called a student identification system import spreadsheet. Right, so that's what this looks like right here. So basically, I take the first name, last name, email address, I apply them to this spreadsheet, and of course, I can upload that into the system and create their user accounts in bulk. Right, so what will happen is you just send me the email with your request for the student accounts, who they are, their information. I create their user accounts, and then I can just send you back a confirmation saying, hey, the accounts are created, and here's their password, whatever their password happens to be. Okay, and then from there, you'll just be able to send them a welcome email, just basically letting the students know that they have an account, right, what their password is, and the link for the catalog to be able to enroll. And I have a canned email sort of created that I can send to you all as like a template that you can then customize and send to students afterwards, if you'd like. Hopefully that makes the process a bit easier for you. So how does that all sound at first? And then we can kind of dig in a little bit deeper to the enrollment process after that too. Any questions about what we went through so far though?
Not really. I think so. The more we use it, the more kind of familiar and like easy it would sound. Or
yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I'm kind of trying to listen to you and also trying to kind of navigate myself. And that's what I realized. Like the more we use it, it's quite user friendly though. So.
It is definitely.
This is the enrollment part. This part, it's just like we've been using Skills Success, and it's pretty much the same. They send us a spreadsheet, an editable spreadsheet, and we fill in the blanks, with the email address, first and last name, and then shoot them an email and send and tell them, hey, I added somebody to the spreadsheet. So it's pretty much the same thing.
There you go. Exactly right. Yeah, it's as long as you send that email to that shared email address and not my email address specifically, I think that'll make that process good, right? Just because obviously if I'm off that day or something, we have other people also monitoring that support email address. That's part of the reason why we kind of do things that way. A question I do have though with regards to enrollment, the whole enrollment concept. I know we have a catalog set up for you all, right? And obviously that would enable students to be able to enroll themselves in courses. Do you foresee any possibility that you'll need to enroll students in courses yourselves manually? Or is it just self-enrollment where the students get to choose everything?
No, I think so. We may have to kind of help them or literally like assist them. I would like to say like, to sort of to get into the system and enroll them.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Because what happens is like we do have a vary of ages, right? So some do have some technical. I don't want to say technical challenges because they can navigate themselves, but understanding the new system and kind of making them familiar. So we will have to do that.
Totally. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was assuming, right? It's always nice to have the option, right? Like if you have a student who's just for whatever reason is just having a difficult time enrolling themselves in a course, or maybe they just maybe don't have the motivation or something like that, it's a nice kind of nudge in the right direction if you can say, hey, look, we already enrolled you, right? Just log in, you'll see it right there on your dashboard. Go ahead and have fun, right? So here's how you can go about enrolling students, right? Because with the process that I already explained as far as creating the accounts is concerned, that's what's going to basically complete the first step of the enrollment process. That's the part I'm going to handle for you all, right? I'll create their account for them, so you don't have to worry about actually creating their account. All you have to worry about then is enrolling them if you are going that route, right? And here's how you go about doing that. Promise, it's really simple. Just one specific little detail that's really important here. So here's how you go about doing it, right? Let's just say hypothetically, you want to enroll a student in this crafting a marketable resume course, right? There is no way for you to just bulk enroll somebody in all the courses simultaneously. Unfortunately, I wish there was a way to do that. You do really have to go into each course individually, enroll them in each course if that's what you wanted to do, right? The way you go about doing that though is after you access the course, right? On the left-hand side, you're going to see there's this link here that says people. Okay, you go to the people section of the course. Okay, and the people section, as always, will show you everyone that's currently enrolled, both students and teachers, right? Even shows last activity, total activity, right? Up here at the top, you have this plus people button, okay? Once you click plus people or add people, you have this little dialog box that pops up, okay? This is where it does get a bit counterintuitive, I guess, right? Or at least from my perspective, it does, right? You can see it says add users by up here, right? And by default, the radio button for email address is always selected, okay? What you want to do instead is you always want to change that radio button to login ID, okay? And where it gets kind of confusing is you're going to copy and paste their email address into this field. Okay, so even though you're putting their email address into this field, you don't want to select email address up here. You always want to select login ID. That's where it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? Reason being, we made the decision on our end to make it so that everyone's login ID is their email address, just so we don't have people constantly forgetting their login ID, right? It's something that they'll likely remember because it's just their email address and that's it. They're one and the same, right? In our system here, we can't enroll somebody just by their email address if they've never logged into the system before. If they've never logged in before and you attempt to do it by way of this email address radio button, it'll give you an error basically and say you can't find them. So you always have to choose login ID. That's all. What's great about this little field here is you can actually include several email addresses simultaneously if you wanted to. Right, so you can kind of enroll people in bulk even, which is nice. Right, as long as they're separated by one line of space, just like this, right, and they're not like one right next to the other, right? As long as it's not like that, then you're fine. It should be able to recognize all of those people, right? What happens is, oh, and also obviously very obvious detail. Of course, you want to make sure the role is set to student and not teacher. I've had a couple of people in the past enroll people as teachers by mistake, and then people go in and start erasing assignments. Of course, we don't want that. So yeah, you just want to double check, make sure role is set to student, right? But once you click next, okay, this is what you want to see happen, right? You see this screen here where it gives you this green check mark and it says the following users are ready to be added to the course. What basically happened was once you clicked next after putting in those email addresses, the system pretty much, instantaneously was able to verify that those accounts actually exist in the system and that now it's confirming like, hey, we found those accounts in the system. Are you ready to add them? And there you go, right? So that's perfect. This is exactly what you want to see. Then you click add users. And what will happen is once you click add users, you'll be able to see them appear in the course just like Carol's listed here with pending below their name, right? Pending really just tells you that that student has been enrolled in the course, but they have not yet accessed the course. That's all, right? Once they access the course, then that pending will be removed and you'll be able to see their last activity and total activity and all that good stuff, okay? Now, one big caveat to that is, and this can be sometimes a source of confusion for students potentially, so want to make sure to mention this, right? When you enroll a student in a course, or even a teacher for that matter, it doesn't really matter, right? When you enroll someone in a course, the system will automatically send them that course invitation email, those 13 emails that you got yesterday, right? So it'll send the student automatically that same one, right? So for me, I typically like to try my best to sort of pair that automatic email with an email from me as well, right? It's typically best when it comes to any online learning to over communicate, right? So it's usually a good idea to kind of send like your own sort of welcome email at the same time, or even just an email saying, hey, look, we just enrolled you in the resume course, expect an email from Kiwi to access it or something like that. The students do not have to access the course via that course invitation email. They don't have to, right? So in other words, if that course invitation email goes to their spam and they never look at it, no problem. As long as they log into the system, they'll be able to access the course after they're enrolled. That's all. Okay, so that's basically the way that works. Now, here's what could end up happening, and this is what you'd want to correct if it does happen, right? So when you go to enroll someone in a course, and mind you, this is after you've already sent me the request for the accounts to be created, and after I already confirmed that they are created, right? And of course, I'll always let you know what their password is too, and everything, right? Let's just say hypothetically, you go to put in one of those email addresses and you miss a character. I'm just going to put some gibberish in there for right now. Maybe you forget like one letter in their email address or something like that. When you go to click next, you're going to see this screen here where it says we were unable to find matches below. Select any you would like to create as new users. This part is very misleading. And I wish they would get rid of this part, right? Because it almost makes it look like if you wanted to, you could just add in someone's name and put in their email address. And there you go. Now you created their user account right then and there. You can just add them to the course, right? The problem is, even though it will look like that and their name would be listed here along with the rest of the people, their account really does not exist, right? Because we've disabled that feature in the system. Right, we don't want to make it so that people can just kind of create user accounts right off the bat, right, like that, right? It kind of messes with our billing a bit on the back end, right? We don't want all of our staff members to be able to do stuff like that. So if you get to that point where you go to put an email address, maybe there's a missing character or something like that, and you get to the screen here, all that means is that person either does not have an account yet at all, and if that's the case, just reach out to Kiwi support, and we'll make sure that they have an account and all that good stuff. Or maybe, like I said earlier, a character is missing or something to that effect. Right, like maybe the email address was just typed in wrong or something like that. But either way, you do not want to proceed with this process and try to create their account right here and there. That's all. Okay. Let's see here. Any questions about the enrollment process when it comes to creating user accounts? Any of that good stuff? Pretty good. Cool. All right. Awesome.
So
okay.
I have a question. So any one point of time they change their email ID or something, how would we change their access to the account? Do we have to recreate their account, or it can be edited?
Great question. It can actually be edited. Yeah. So what I'd recommend is if you have a student who says like, hey, I totally changed my email account to something else, like email address, just send an email to Kiwi support, that same email address, and I'll be able to go into the back end of the system and just update their email address for them. And I could even add like an additional login if I want to make it so that they can log in using both emails or something like that. Right. So yeah, just feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to do that for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. So just out of my own sort of curiosity to make sure that I have kind of everything sort of set up on my end the best possible way. Do you have any idea as of now with regards to like what the frequency will be for your requests for new Kiwi accounts? How many Kiwi accounts in total do you all foresee needing for your sub account? All that good stuff.
I want to say somewhere between 25 to 30.
Okay. Great. And when it comes to like the frequency of creating those user accounts and everything, would it be like all in one shot, or is it going to be something where it's like kind of, I don't know, once a week you're sending an email, or just is it kind of more sporadic, or how do you feel?
80%, I want to say like we will have them compiled in first week of September in one go.
Gotcha.
But then we also recruit some members coming in, like the first week of December or so. So we may have some there registering in during that period of time. So I want to say 80-20.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, no problem there. All right, cool. I always like to have a good idea just to make sure, like, I'm not on vacation that week or something like that. Or if I am, to make sure I definitely have someone kind of made aware of your sub account and everything. So, okay. All right. That sounds good. Excuse me. All right. Great. So, a couple of other things I want to go through with you all real quick, and then of course we can sort of wrap up. One nifty little feature, I included this in my recording that I sent you all yesterday, but I didn't really go through it yesterday during the course. I was kind of kicking myself for forgetting to mention this part because it's such an important feature, two important features really. The first one is this feature up here at the top called Student View. Okay, Student View is going to be like your best friend when you're using the system, just because it'll give you the ability to look through the entire course as a student. Right. It'll give you this sort of like imaginary student account that you can use as you're navigating through the system. This is definitely a good feature to use, I'd say, especially when it comes to answering questions and stuff like that. So, and obviously, if you want to just experience the course and experiment with it, try using Student View. That'll help you out a lot. The other one is Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is something that we have turned on in Kiwi. And if you don't see it in your version of Kiwi, when you go to log in, just let me know and I can let you know how to enable that. But this is really great if you do have any students that need any sort of additional help when it comes to being able to like read everything that's on the screen, right? Even if you do have any individuals that are like challenged when it comes to language, right? This concept is really cool. The Microsoft Immersive Reader, it was like a free plugin that we were able to add to our Canvas instance. You can literally even like read stuff out loud to you that's on like the course pages and stuff like that. So it's a nice little feature that's right up there at the top. Really helps with accessibility in the courses.
Yeah, I don't have Immersive Reader on mine.
Okay, yep. So I can show you exactly how to enable that if you want to. Then obviously, if you needed to kind of also pass this along to students, you'll know how to let them know how to do it too.
Okay.
So when you click on account on the left-hand side here, you get this little tray that opens up, right, with your name at the top. First of all, you will see at the bottom, there should be this option that says use high contrast UI, which is nice too. It's also great for like accessibility purposes, right? But you also, if you go into settings, yep. And then if you go down to edit settings on the right-hand side, first of all, this is where you would go about changing your password if you ever need to do that, right? So you'll be able to see there's this password button right here. You can click that little button right next to it. You can actually go about changing your password that way, which is nice. But you do also have the ability to enable Microsoft Immersive Reader. So if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom of your settings screen, you'll see there should be this link here that says Microsoft Immersive Reader with a little box right next to it, or excuse me, a little bubble next to it. Yep, there you go. And same as like with the thing with your students. If you have students that maybe are having difficulty with like the language or anything like that, hopefully that'll help them out. And also the same thing with the high contrast UI if they need help in that area too. Okay, so yeah, that's usually a pretty popular feature with a lot of folks.
And then I hit update settings.
Yep, exactly right. I'm sorry. Yep, exactly right. Hit update settings to kind of make it like finalized, so to speak. All right. One other thing that I wanted to make sure to show you all is just a couple of quick things. If, let's just say hypothetically, you're looking through one of the courses and mistakenly you remove one of these items, right? You'll see each one of these items has this little drop-down menu next to it. When you click on it, you have like edit. You can also access the speed grader from there as well, right? But this happens fairly frequently where somebody mistakenly will remove an item from the course and they'll panic and think, oh my God, I deleted something from the course altogether. That needs to be recreated. No, it doesn't, right? The good thing is if you were to remove something from a module by mistake, all that really happens is that item goes back to its home right over here, depending on what type of item it is, right? So if I were to remove this by mistake, because it's an assignment, remember each one of them has their own little like icon that kind of represents what type of item it is, right? That assignment would just go back to its home in the assignment section of the course, right? And then to add it again, all I'd have to do is go to this little plus sign up here in the top right-hand corner of the course, and then I can see there's this drop-down menu here for what type of item you want to add. And again, those are the same types of items that we talked about yesterday: quizzes, files, pages, discussions, right? So all you'd have to do is change that drop-down menu, find that activity, and click Add Item, and you should be able to see it appear at the very bottom of the module. And what's cool is these little 8 dots on the left-hand side of every item, you can click and hold those to drag items to different parts of a module. Right, so if you want to even like reorder it or put it back where it was originally for e-learning activity, you could do that, right? And you'll see these sections over here on the left, many of them mirror the types of items there are, right? So you have your discussions, you have your quizzes, pages, right, files, and of course assignments. So that's basically how that works. So pretty simple type of concept, but definitely useful if you're in a bind and you remove something by mistake, you need it back like ASAP. And obviously you can always send an email to Kiwi support, and of course we can help you too, regarding that sort of issue. Okay, so that's basically how that works. Okay, and then of course, last but not least, I know we're coming up on time in the next like 9 minutes or so. We do have new analytics too. This is one of those other sort of nice little new features that Canvas sort of added fairly recently. That's pretty cool, just as far as being able to track things in the course, right? Like metrics and stuff like that. When you go to new analytics on the left-hand side, you're going to see gives you some really good data when it comes to like the participation in the course, right? You can see the overall course grades for students, weekly online activity, which is pretty nice. Obviously, there's no data reports. There's no students in there yet. You can see student sort of data, right? So you can see like stuff about their grade, whether or not it was on time, last participation, page views, stuff like that. But most useful, at least in my opinion, is the reports area, right? Each of one of the 13 courses that you all have access to has their own reports area, right? Where you can go to like missing assignments, so you can see who hasn't submitted a specific assignment yet. I'm not quite sure if you'll have due dates, so late assignments may not really make as much sense, right? But like course activity and class roster also could be pretty useful too, right? So one of the things I know sometimes people will complain about, which I totally understand, is that wouldn't it be nice if you could just download this screen as a report, right? The people section of the course, because it shows you like the last activity and total activity and all that good stuff, everyone's email addresses, right? That would be nice. And there's no area here to download this oftentimes, right? So when you go into new analytics, that's an easy way to be able to get some data that you can actually download through this reports area, whether it's through the class roster or the course activity as well. Okay, so you have some pretty good options there as well. Okay, that pretty much covers it. I think that pretty much should be anything or all that you would need to be able to, run your courses and make sure that your students have access and all that good stuff. Any final questions, comments, concerns about anything that we went through over the past 2 days?
I may have few once I get more key use of the website.
Totally. Definitely understand that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
I'm
haven't watched the video from yesterday yet, so I might have questions after that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, yeah, by all means, as you start to explore the system and play around with it a bit, by all means, just feel free to let me know. Yeah, after we're done our meeting today, I'll send all 3 of you or all 4 of you in total a follow-up email that includes some information about like the enrollment process and the account creation process and all that good stuff. And best of luck with everything moving forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Definitely. It's a pleasure
Thank you.
meeting
Have
all
a
of you.
good one.
Bye.
You as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.